Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew and today I want to talk more about AMD in the PC space just because I don't think that there's enough positive AMD content out there. So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, man. Let's get into this now. It's been 6 months since I switched over from Nvidia to AMD. I've been rocking 7900 XT. I got a 7800 XT, and I bought that 4070 obviously so that I could do some comparison, content between the 7800 XT and the 4070. And my plan, I actually bought the 4070. I was gonna try to run it for a whole month and do like a review or whatever. But I just I just cannot give up the adrenaline software to go back to Nvidia long enough to let that thing sit in there for a whole month. Man, dude, I'm such an AMD fan now. It's not even funny. I really love the way that the AMD cards are set up. They're easier to get in there and utilize. In my opinion, the experience is just a lot better than what I get with Nvidia. Now, yeah, I mean, there's a few games obviously that are heavily optimized for the Nvidia GPUs. You got Cyberpunk 2077. You've got the new Alan Wake game and some of these other games that have come out. And to be completely honest with you, I've been perfectly fine running these games on these AMD GPUs. Today I actually was like, man, I want to see, because Cyberpunk had that new update or whatever. So I was like, you know what? Let me see how that game runs on the 7900 XT, because that's what I got in right now. So I get in there and I turn on, all the ray tracing, everything. I put it on the main ray tracing, with the overdrive or whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm playing it at 1440p. I mean, obviously I've got, FSR2 enabled, and I'm getting about 30 frames a second with it in the quality mode or whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this game and I'm just trying to see like a major difference that this path tracing brings to this experience. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it and I'm like, you know what, man? I'm just going to go to the regular ultra ray tracing. And that pretty much bumps me up to, 60 frames a second. I get 60 frames a second at 1440p with the 7900 XT. Give or take, anywhere from, it could go under the 60 into the 50s, well over into like the 70s or 80s with this particular card. And I'm playing that and I'm looking, kind of back and forth, looking at the path tracing on this game, and I'm thinking like, gosh dang, man. The performance hit that you take just for turning that on is like half. Like you lose half of your performance. And then when I had the 4070 in there and I'm playing that, I'm like, yeah, dude, I get like 80 frames a second if I'm using frame generation and I'm using, DLSS quality. So I mean, obviously you're getting to use quality and frame generation in that game, and just looking at the overall image quality of both of these, and I'm thinking like, dude, is this even worth using? And that's kind of where you come down to it. Like if you can't afford to go out there and buy a $1,200 GPU. $1,200 GPU, because I'm definitely not gonna recommend a 4070 Ti. If you can't afford a $1,200 GPU just to like fully utilize this, I mean, obviously you can do it with a 4070. You can have your 1440p at your 80 frames or whatever, using frame generation. Me personally, I'm not against frame generation. There are people out there that are still like, oh man, I don't care about frame generation. But if you want an actual solid playable experience with that, where you can really, just turn on everything and just let it go, you're gonna need like a 4080. And yeah, I don't know how like realistic that is for a lot of gamers out there today. I just don't know how realistic that is. But when I turn the stuff off, you know, and I'm just on regular ray tracing with the AMD cards, it more than gives me a 60 FPS experience at 1440p. And I'm like, gosh, dude, I don't notice that big of an upgrade in visual quality to justify the extra money that I would have to pay to play that game, you know, the way I would want to play it, you know, with super high frame rates and stuff like that. I mean, obviously it's doable on a 4070, so I'm not saying that's a bad deal. But then when I put that same 4070 to work on some of these games that are actually optimized for the Radeon cards, you know, like, okay, here's the thing, man. This is probably like the big thing for me and the reason why I can't justify keeping the 4070 in there that long. I play a lot of Ubisoft games. Ubisoft is like one of my favorite developers out, or not developers, but publishers out there. I love the open world games they make. I love all the stuff. You know, I absolutely just eat those types of games up. So for me to have an Nvidia card in my PC, the the performance hit that I take on the Nvidia side versus what I would get on the 7800 XT or the 7900 XT to play those games, that to me is less worth it than it is for me to have a GPU that can play a couple of games with ray tracing a little bit better, well, better than what the AMD side does. And to be completely honest with you, there's not many. The games that are heavily optimized for the Nvidia cards, they do struggle pretty decently on the AMD card. Like they do. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you that yeah, it's just a little bit better. No, because in some of these cases it's significant. You know, like Cyberpunk, with everything maxed out and turned on with the ray tracing on there, I get like 80 frames. Everything maxed out on the 7900 XT. This is the 7900 XT. I'm at like 30 frames. So yeah, there's obvious. Well, I mean, if I turn on the frame generator, I can get like 60 or whatever. So with the 7900 XT, so I mean, it's not like way bad. Like I'm not trying to make it seem like it's way bad, because yeah, you can use AMD's Fluid Motion Frames preview to run that game with Fluid Motion Frames on there. But at the end of the day, yes, it does run better on the Nvidia card, but not enough to where I could justify giving up all the performance gains that I get across multiple titles and across multiple other experiences to lose out on that with the Nvidia card. That to me doesn't make sense at all. That doesn't make sense to me at all. Yes, you get some good ray tracing performance on a select number of games with Nvidia, but I mean, unless you can go out there, and that's what it is for me. Unless I could go out there and like buy the 4080 to be able to have my performance and rasterization as well as my performance and ray tracing, that doesn't make sense to me. $1,200 for a GPU. That seems pretty extreme. I mean, especially when you're looking at things and you're like, yeah, okay, so I want 4K and I want, you know, over 60 frames per second. I think the 4080 should be able to get you that. My 7900 XT gets me that on pretty much everything I play on it. I can get at least 60 frames a second at 4K. So I'm pretty sure that 4080 should be pretty close to that, be able to give you that. Most games, you know, like Call of Duties and stuff like that, are all better optimized on the AMD stack. So it's one of those things, man, where like, okay, this is what I don't understand. I guess this is basically what the whole video is about. Is I don't understand how people could like just 100% be like, oh yeah, Nvidia is better. When you look at comparable pricing for the AMD side, you get a lot better performance across a lot more games than you do for similarly priced Nvidia GPU versus the AMD GPU. You get much better performance, rasterized performance on the on a lot of those games, which is like, wow, dude. So I don't understand how people could be like, yeah, man, across the board, Nvidia is better. You got two different technologies. You have DLSS with the Nvidia, and you have FSR and NXESS if you want to use it with AMD. And in my experience, in my honest real world experience with both of these cards, there's not that big of a difference to where you're like, oh my gosh, man, I just got to have DLSS. I've seen games where DLSS looks absolutely incredible, and I've seen games where DLSS looks just as bad as, you know what I mean? Just as bad as everybody complains about FSR looking. And I'm like, what are these guys talking about, man? Like, I've got well over 300 games on PC already. Well over 300 games. I've played a lot of these games with both Nvidia and AMD, and I'll tell you what, man, I always keep coming back to the exact same mindset. Like, damn, dude, I can't go a day without my AMD GPU and my freaking PC, man. It is too hard for me to try to go back to Nvidia and give up all the amazing benefits that I have on the AMD GPU. And, you know, some people look at me like, man, you're crazy, bro. Like, why do you like welfare products and stuff like that? And I'm like, no, dude, it's all about the experience. It's all about the user experience for me. Like, it is. And that's where I think a lot of people, I don't know, man. I think a lot of people just think they're like, oh yeah, Nvidia is the best. So they just jump on this wagon and they're like, yeah, man, Nvidia is better. When you see, here's the thing, dude. Here's the exact way, my exact reasoning. If you go out and you buy that 4070, it was $600. If you go out and buy a 7800 XT, it's $500, and it's a better experience, like pretty much all around. Why would you pay more money for less of an experience when there's a comparable GPU out there from the AMD side that's going to give you way more bang for your buck? Like, I don't get it. I absolutely do not get the PC space and why people are like, yeah, man, I'd rather pay for features that I'm never going to use because you don't use your GPU for work. So you're paying extra money for something that you are not going to use. And they put like better gaming performance behind significantly higher paywalls than AMD does. You go buy a 4070. All right, cool, man. You get a certain, you know, performance at 1440p, lack of VRAM, all of that stuff. I really do think that the 4080 should be the price of a 4070, man. Like, I really do. Then more people can afford to buy these cards, man. But no, dude, like Nvidia is pure greedy, man. Like, they're greedy. You're paying, I mean, maybe a 4080 for $800. I think that would probably be fair, but $1,200 for a 4080, that just seems absolutely ridiculous to me. Especially when you can get a 7900 XTX that is going to be able to, that's pretty dang close to a 4080 in power. That does not make freaking a lick of sense to me. That people would just be like, oh yeah, man, and blind loyalty running on over to Nvidia. But I mean, look at the way social media is, man. Look at the way the YouTube is. Look at everything, man. Everybody are so negative towards AMD that you literally have to go out and buy an AMD card just to see for yourself that, like, oh yeah, man, those dudes are absolutely lying to me. Be smart, be diligent, buy what you can afford. Do not feel like you have to be pressured into buying an Nvidia GPU when you know damn well that you can go out and you could get way more bang for your buck with AMD. And I guarantee you'll like the experience just as much as you like Nvidia. You'll like the experience, and then that will give you the option always going forward as a PC gamer, man, to be like, okay, look, they're way overcharging right now for this new technology. I'm gonna go with AMD, and because I know I'll be fine over there. You should do that. Like, you should do that. You should absolutely give AMD a try, because I do think that it not only is it going to surprise you, but like most of the games out there you're going to play, you're going to get way better performance than a few of these heavily Nvidia favored games every once in a while, man. Like it's not every day that a Cyberpunk 2077 or an Alan Wake 2 comes out. You get a lot more different games in between those few that are going to be running better on your AMD card. That are going to be running better on your AMD card. So, if you guys like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, man. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.